Yes. Today I wish I had a little shirt that said "I hate men." That'd be so cute in a crop top.
2017. Is it hilarious?
Yes.
Would you, if I had a shirt that said "I hate women," would that be hilarious?
That'd be low-key iconic.
I'm laughing because I've just known her for so long, and I just think it's funny that she's.
Is it funny?
I think it's sad.
I'm laughing, so it is.
Well, there's no homicidal misandrist. Like, if you wore a shirt that said "I hate women," you'd be akin to like people like Christopher Harper Mercer, Elliot Rogers, incels who have actually left those kind of posts on Facebook and then killed like a dozen women.
I think you have something for this, Andrew.
No, I'm just saying that a woman has never said "I hate men" and then gone and killed 12 men.
No, they do. They just do it in their nursing roles. See, what they do is they do it over time in nursing roles and in roles where they're supposed to be taking care of children, things like this. That's when women kill.
Wait, can you elaborate?
Yeah. So, for instance, women who are in roles where they're taking care of children, okay, whatever that role is, far more likely in those roles, right, to hurt those children over time.
The male
I'm
children?
talking about the homicidal.
Are you talking?
Yeah.
Yes.
Male children.
Yes.
Well, they have to be a specific male.
Well, they kill. What I'm saying is that women kill. They just kill differently. So when you're like, the hatred towards women is an indicator that the men are going to hurt women. It's like, well, but it's an indicator both ways. It's just that because women kill differently and much more sadistically, in my opinion, it's even more sadistic. That's not to say that they don't, if they have a problem towards men, kill them, because they clearly do. They just do it in capacity of caregiver, nurse,
Wait, you're
things
saying
like
they
this.
disproportionately harm male children?
Well, if they hate men, yes.
Also,
there's a statistic that women are disproportionately hurting male children. In
Well, yeah.
caregiver
Well, let me
roles.
give you an easy example of them disproportionately hurting male children. A lot of female teachers, do they think they have sex with more male children or female children?
And you think those are the type of women who are wearing a shirt that maybe says "I hate men," like, and that they test positive for misandry?
That's not what your question was.
It was related to him saying
that was
whether
not
a
your
shirt
question.
would be any type of indication.
No. You're changing the goalpost. Your question specifically. Your question to me specifically was: are you saying that women harm male children more?
Because that was in response to the idea that
And
if a
then
man wears a shirt
but the
that says
answer
"I
is
hate
yes,
women,"
they
it's
do
usually
harm them more.
it's usually correlated to being in an incel community, which does is a
No,
they
it's
maybe
not.
are a
Can I
proponent of violence
just
against women.
say-
So are you fine with the shirt?
I didn't say I was fine with it. I'm just saying you're trying to make it. You drew an analogy and said it was a pure parallel to say having a shirt that says "I hate women," and I'm saying it's not.
It is. It's
not.
It is
But
the
you-
pure, what
but
would
I
be
also
the pure
want to
parallel?
be real with me.
What? No. What would be the pure parallel?
There is no pure parallel, because as much as she tweets men are gross, she's never going to be so incentivized that she goes and kills 12.
Here's actually the
even
difference.
How do you know that?
Even if she's curved by
Here's-
12 fuckboys in 1 year, she's never going to go kill. That just doesn't happen.
How do you
But
know
that. Okay, hold on.
Where are the stories?
But-
Where are the
but-
statistics?
Caregiver positions, they do kill. I don't know where you
But
come
they're
up with
not,
this
and then
idea.
show a tweet of those caregivers saying "I hate men." We're drawing a correlation between misandry and disproportionately harming men.
Are you serious? There's whole books that are devoted on this topic about how female serial killers are often, they're mad at men because they were abused or because of any number of different problems they have with men specifically.
Just like male
it's a huge
serial
red flag.
killers.
Okay,
Like,
female
for
serial
instance, if
killers
I
are
was-
espousing misandry.
So here, I'll give you an example of this. Let's say that I had a nurse. I was like in a hospital laid up or something. And I went on this nurse's Twitter and it had all the tweets that were like this. Think that wouldn't be a red flag for me to be like, maybe don't come in my room and play with my IV. Maybe don't come in here and change my drip.
Okay, I'll give you that. That's like a fair
Right.
thing.
Okay.
But also,
But-
I want you guys to be really real with me right now.
Okay.
Those tweets, majority of them, let's be real, 2010, 2018, I'm still living at home. I have a father who punches me in the face,
That's
strangles
wrong.
me,
That's
throws
wrong.
furniture at me, beats me up against an oven, does all sorts of things, killed me almost 3 times.
That's
like
wrong.
all these things. You don't think, I'm not saying those are right, but you don't think me tweeting at 14 being like, "I hate men" is like the worst thing? Like,
Look,
it's like a
You
diary.
weren't 14 though.
It's
You were in your
but those were
early-
chronics
you
between
were-
14 and 20 years
But you
old
have
of when
recent-
I still lived
You have
in.
much more recent posts where you say men are trash, men are gross,
Yeah.
men suck. Those are much more recent.
But not only that, he asked you this, right? So
But-
this is fine to give that qualifier.
And I also said I was coming out of my man-hating phase.
Yeah, hey, it's fine for you to have that qualifier, and I'll say, okay, sure, that's a fair qualifier, except he asked you literally 5-6 minutes ago, hey, do you still feel this way? And you were like,
Kinda.
yeah, kind of.
You
So
like
it's
were
like,
jumping
well,
up and down for him to read
I'm
them
just-
too, so it doesn't really matter when they were written if you
I
still
mean,
feel
because
the
I
same
think
way.
they're hilarious.
But you think it's
Okay,
funny
that's
to
weird.
say that men are trash, men are gross. I would actually argue, I mean, because you were saying, well, what's the impact? It's pretty shocking to me that, for example, if a man were to say those same things, you just replace man with women. You would get in major trouble. You'd get canceled. But here she is. She's a supermodel.
There's also
her own words. You're booking gigs. You've got all these like
booked and busy.
That's cancelable. That would be a cancelable offense if you were a man to say I hate women.
That's also backed by like how you said men are the almost sheer enforcers of power.
Wait,
They're
what?
stronger than us. So going back to what you said, men are always stronger than women. They're always the bigger ones. They can enforce everything. So if we use those parallels and a man is tweeting that, you can look at it from the lens that he can actually enforce I hate women. He can actually go overpower a woman versus from you and what you said
But
about
most men
the
don't.
power dynamics. First of all, I didn't say that every man goes and beats and hurts women, but if you think that you think that there's no violence against women just for having a vagina, and there's a violence against there is violence.
I'm not saying there isn't,
and I'm just saying there's violence against femininity, and I'm just hold on. If you switch the tweets, statistics would show that if a man's expressing those things, it might be come out a little bit more violent and a little bit more dangerous than a woman. This is just.
Let me ask you guys.
Also, being part of the
hold on.
LGBT community,
Okay, that's
this
irrelevant.
is kind
That's
of like.
irrelevant. Let's not get into the weeds here. Do you guys know who Andy Warhol is?
Yes.
Okay. What happened to Andy Warhol?
Like in terms of what? Death, life.
He was murdered.
Art? Yeah.
By
a woman
who was a raging anti-male feminist. She wrote a book called The Scum Manifesto.
Yes.
Her name was Valerie Solanas.
Yes.
So this idea that women are not capable of violence or that they don't inflict violence.
Who said that?
But this misandry. Hold on. But
tweets between
but Farha was making the point. Farha was making the point that misandry does not lead to violence when actually it has.
If you look at the statistics,
I think what she was trying to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's less likely.
Yeah, but let's just assume.
Violence.
Let's assume for a second that none of that's true. But let's just assume it is. Let's just say that it was only less likely by 10%.
Okay.
Right.
That's a big chunk of people.
Yeah, but who cares? That's still it would still be a massive problem and a massive red flag for you to say, yes, women do it too. They act out with misandry. They just do it 10% less than men. So what? Wouldn't it still be a massive red flag that we should watch out for and still look at it the same way we would at men?
Being very honest, a lot of men usually like that I say that stuff because
what?
Yeah, the reason being is they think it deters other men. So they're like, the woman who hates men chose me. She must love me.
They think she won't cheat because she's a misandrist. Is what she's saying.
And so most guys that I love when I say that, they're like, oh my, yeah, like you're only fucking with me. I'm special. I know it sounds crazy, but that
checks out, but also I want to point out a difference.
It doesn't check out, but okay.
When she's tweeting I hate men, she's saying it because it's chic, and like she pointed out, she was participating in hookup culture because of Cardi B. It's not because I don't think she actually has, if you were to put her on a lie detector test, I don't think she actually has hatred towards men. I don't think she actually gets off on violence towards men. I think a lot of men though who do have those shirts, I think they do feel rejected from women. I think they feel ostracized in society, and I think they do have uniquely bad feelings towards women. I 100% would bet my life that she does not. And girls who tweet things like that are just trying to be fashionable.
Well,
the only person I ever wanted to hurt was my father.
Why are you making these assumptions?
It's a panel.
But I mean, she's pretty like on the spot with that.
No, but you can't walk back.
But that's why I mentioned gay culture, because in gay culture, being for the girls, gays, and theys, that like what she's saying.
Even gay men tweet like
it's a statement. It's a trend, and that no offense, but I wouldn't
I think it's corny, and they shouldn't say it, but it's not at all parallel to misogyny.
And how?
At some point, degrading and making jokes about your wife or whatever was almost as fashionable as saying I hate men. Like back in the days, men would sit around and
like, oh, women, right?
But just to address a breeding ground for the violence that we're speaking about.
Okay. But to address your point that it's chic or cool or quirky to hate men, how emblematic is it of a just failure of society that men are not given respect, and that it's a joke to hate men, that it's acceptable to hate men? That would be bigger evidence of because if you say I hate women, the forces of feminism will descend upon you and you're going to get canceled, you'll get kicked out of school, you're going to lose opportunities. But nobody bats an eye if a woman says things that are misandric or hateful towards men.
First of all, that's not true. I think you should take a look at the
absolutely true.
streaming community.
What?
Kick is just drenched in misogyny and people making like anti-women jokes. They're
Yeah,
still
but
getting
it's
on
just
platforms.
quirky.
Well,
No, it's not.
No,
It
my
really
point
is
was
not.
he
No,
was saying
it's
they would
just
get
quirky.
The
canceled.
history of violence
saying they
against
won't-
women
he was
is
saying they'll
way
be
more
deplatformed
extreme
for it.
than
They're not
men.
going to be deplatformed.
According to you guys, your argument is this is just quirky, right? This is just quirky.
I think there's truth
we're
to it.
We're funning, right?
Yes,
So,
yeah.
okay,
That's
so
what I
if
was
I
saying.
give you
I
the
think it's
argument
fine for
back,
those. I think it's fine for those kick boys to say that because I think they're just
What are
poking
they
fun and I
saying,
think they're being
though?
stupid. I don't think it's.
but let me ask you a question. Let's assume what she's saying is not a joke. Is it still funny?
It's half true.
If women were to mean it, it's one thing. I don't think she means it because these
I
women are still
know.
down bad for male attention. I think the guys who do say I hate women, I think they genuinely feel it because they feel rejected and
Based on
ostracized
what?
from women.
What
Men,
evidence
okay,
do you
let's
have
put
for
it
that?
this way.
What
like,
evidence do you
like
have
a
for that?
girl will be like, oh, that guy blew me off, or he like slept with my best friend, and then you're
I
like,
hate
oh,
men.
I
Yeah.
hate men.
Yeah, they say
And
that.
then like a girl will literally not give you her number, and he'll fucking murder you and follow you
Oh.
home.
When men
What
say
percentage?
happen,
What
I've been
percentage? What's the
essayed
percentage?
5 times, and it's all from rejection.
First off, that's terrible that happened. However, the example that you gave was that women are just en masse, wholesale, getting murdered for rejecting men. That's very rare. It does happen. It does happen, but that's an extremely
Modest Kiki
exceptional
donated
case.
Then I must be like the
$200.
biggest outlier
Girls,
today.
Yikes. Enjoy your lonely man-hating life. I'm sure your husband will be enthused in saving his children rather than yourself. Why save you? You hate men. Why
Here,
save you?
and remember that
Simply
you're-
men haters.
I love
Save
men.
me from what?
you're emotionally close to that, right? So I understand that you're emotionally close to it, but disconnect being emotional from it for a second.
Okay.
Let us assume for a second that you can agree with me that at least some women, just some, who will make tweets like this and are misandrous, will act out in a way which is harmful to males by either poisoning them, perhaps, like has been done in the
Yes.
past, or things like, okay. So
conflated,
even if you just grant that it's some, even if it's only 10% of what it is for men, or 30% of what it is for men, then you would still have to look at it and say, that's also bad and shouldn't happen the same way you would for men, right?
no, because the disparity in percents is what makes the difference.
Why is-
Severity.
No.
So big.
That's
and
ridiculous.
And we're not talking about like, oh,
Why?
the past
When
20
men
why?
hate
We're
women,
talking
they're watching
thousands
violent,
of years.
torturous porn of women. Like, don't you think there are just stronger correlations between misogyny and actually
No.
getting off on women being
Here, I'll prove
harmed
it to
than
you.
her? I don't think she would feel any joy watching a man get beat in porn. But I think men who say I hate women, they are watching torture
Hang on,
porn.
I'll prove it to you. So let's take, oh man, I got to frame my language carefully here. But let's assume for a second that one of those school events, you know what I'm talking about, right? A school event perpetrated
okay.
by a man.
Okay.
Okay. One of those types of events.
Certain type of man.
Let's assume we're going to say like almost all of them are done by men, right? But like let's say hypothetically that 10 or 20% of them are done by women. Any of the tweets that would lead you down the same primrose path of thinking about men in that category that would lead to you thinking they would do that, whatever women tweeted out the same things that were similar to that, shouldn't it be the same red flag?
Yeah. I mean, if you're tweeting
Well, did
murderous
we find the
things,
I love men tweets?
Well,
literally the I love
one
dick.
is a call to
The I love
action
dick
or an
tweets are all over
announcement.
there.
You're incriminating yourself.
No, not always. They're not. They don't always incriminate themselves by saying, "I'm going to go do this thing," but they have red flag-like behavior that leads to them doing the thing.
But earlier, I even told you I had the chance to murder my father and I didn't, and I could have gotten away with it in self-defense.
Got to be careful in that language, right?
But like,
So-
I literally had the opportunity and had the chance to get away with it, and I didn't do it.
Yeah, I know, but try to understand the kind of the way that you're
So
making
you're
your
proving
arguments.
that not every girl that
Kind of the way
tweets
you're
that.
making your arguments and pushing your kind of worldview is to say I'm very emotionally close, and so therefore true, right?
The Nashville Christian school murderers stand out as a written and entire manifesto of hate. Men will get into a fight and kick each other's ass. Women will poison or shoot you in the back.
What about war? What men are? He literally you said that they are the almost sole
So I think the only difference is like men are more
Listen,
brutal
you're-
with
Men
theirs
are
and women are
naturally
smarter
You
about
keep
theirs.
misinterpreting what I'm saying.
I'm just
I didn't
repeating
say
back
that
to you what you're
because
saying.
because men are the enforcement arm that means that they're in some way inherently violent.
They are inherently violent.
I'm saying
They
that
are.
Not again, not all of them, but if we're talking about
On a larger
outliers,
But
then the
using-
outliers in this case
but-
would be the men
So
who
hang on,
aren't.
hang on. So when I'm talking about force, and we're talking about inherent violence, then what
Yes.
I'm saying here is that the inherent violence, which is used to protect your rights, that's good force for you, right?
Men are inherently
No,
violent.
I mean I'm
That-
ACAB,
we-
so that's
you
not
guys-
really like.
No, but that misses
When-
the point. The point is to say that violence itself is not bad. It's not inherently bad. It's only bad when it's used for a bad purpose, right?
Can you like generally? Can you give me an example
Yeah,
of
like
when
if a man
violence
is
would be
using
used for
violence to
good?
protect your life, you wouldn't
Okay.
consider that to be bad violence. You would consider that like good violence, right?
I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So that's all I'm saying. So I'm just saying she's misinterpreting what I'm saying about enforcement.
No, I'm just
that
saying-
that doesn't mean that it's non-benevolent because enforcement of
I'm
your
just
rights
saying
would be a
that
benevolent thing.
relates to kind of what we're speaking about in the fact that women on a larger scale face more violence from men than if you look at it on the other way. I'm not saying that
They don't.
Hold on. I'm not saying that no woman has ever punched a man that they're dating. For example, men I date, I couldn't hurt them if I tried unless I had like a knife or a gun. I'm so little. If I wanted to like, I would really have to work to like really physically harm most men that I date. Versus on the other hand, a man, I'm little. A guy could probably smack me one good time and whatever. So bringing that back to we're more likely to we face more violence
No, I think it's the opposite. So
If,
I
for
see women
example,
hitting
like-
men all the time, and men just take it. I
No,
see
no.
it everywhere
I didn't-
all the time,
But
nonstop.
you know why
Wait, you
they
see
take-
what?
I'm not making
Women
an
hit
excuse
men
for
constantly,
anyone.
and they don't do anything
That's
about it.
exactly
Where
what
are
I
you
said,
living?
though.
Like-
But this is exactly what I'm saying. I can hit a man. I'm not saying it makes it right. I would have to hit you probably 5 more times to hurt you than you would have to hit
But
me.
even if I
Disagree
don't-
or agree?
That's not-
Agree or disagree?
Yeah, yeah. So
I'm
I would
not making it right.
Okay,
It's not
okay,
cool
okay,
if you
okay. Listen,
hit
I
men.
know. I'm trying to answer
So
your
all I'm
question.
saying-
So I would agree that yes, you might have to apply much more force than a man, but violence is still violence, right? So it's still even if you hit a man and it hurts less than when a man hits the man, who's the conductor of the violence if the man doesn't hit him and you do?
I
I'm not
got something really good
That's
on this.
the point.
I got something really good on this. So
But
my
you're
understanding
not
when it comes
saying
to,
the point
I
on
believe it's non-reciprocal DV, the rates are actually the same between men and women.
Yeah.
One very interesting statistic is that the domestic violence rate amongst lesbian women is, I
through the roof.
believe, much, much higher than
It's
between gay
70%.
men.
It's 70%.
So if violence is a male thing, how do we explain that
lesbians.
Lesbians are
in
crazy.
homosexual relationships
Yeah.
with 2 women versus 2 men, where you've removed the that dynamic, how can it be that the domestic violence rate is substantially higher in female-female relationships as compared to male-male relationships? And you're welcome to look up the stats on that, but it's been studied thoroughly.
It's 70% of all the domestic violence inside of homosexual groups is female on female.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I believe the numbers, but I kind of feel like I don't know.
That's good. Oh, no, sorry. I was just go ahead.
What was I just saying?
You were saying you believe the numbers.
I think I could say, I don't know. I feel like women are maybe a little bit more emotionally like reactionary in terms of like when it comes to being in a relationship and reacting to, for the most part, we'll probably react a little bit quicker, like a little bit more with more force or energy or emotion.
Violence.
In terms of
Violence.
you can use the word. Well, I'm saying emotion because I'm saying like it's not abuse is yelling, screaming, whatever, kicking, violence, whatever. So all those things like we maybe get a little bit more amped up when it comes to like being in relationships. So maybe that's why. But I mean, for the most part, like I don't.
So the only
think that-
reason, so by that logic, then the only reason that women aren't smacking men when they're inside of relationships with them is because the man can hit her harder.
Probably.
I'm not gonna
So
lie.
that would mean that
because-
inherently you're saying that women are more violent than men.
Well, just like
That's what you'd be
No,
saying.
but we're talking about men versus women acting on
If
their
a woman-
violence.
Right, but if you're saying that, no, it's actually that women are
Have you-
more violent.
have
it's
you
just
ever
that
wanted to
there's a
smack a woman?
deterrent.
Women
There-
have
hang on,
violence in
let me
them.
finish.
That
Let me
wasn't
finish.
the question.
I'm sure you
What
wanted to
she's-
smack a
what
girl
she's
before
saying-
and you
what she's
didn't
saying is
because
this. She's
you're a
saying,
guy. You would hurt her.
but that's my point. Is that
That's
you're
what stopped you,
Yeah,
though.
but you're saying here, honestly saying
point.
here that women are more violent than men. And that the only reason, well, at least in relationships, you must be, because you say that the reason that they attack each other in same-sex relationships more is because they're more violent. They just don't do that to men because men can hit them harder, so they have to restrain themselves from striking them. Which means that if you were to reverse the role and say that men were the weaker sex, that women would be way more abusive to them than men are to women.
Gotcha, bitch.
Okay.
Just say it.
I
Like,
mean-
that's crazy.
Wait,
I was just, you asked why
that's
it
good.
wasn't necessary. I was just
Okay.
saying what might the possibility be.
Sure.
I still stand
I
that
got.
men are
Let me
more
do a
abusive.
couple chats. Then we got some more tweets.